Well, here it is, the 2021 Poetry Postcard Fest open mic. Another Postcard Fest is over. Ah! I get to relax a little, but I start to get these withdrawal symptoms from not doing postcards. Yes, I know I can send out more postcards. I don't have to stop now, but let me just say that this fest really gets better year after year, and I'm just delighted that you're all part of this community and that you make this go. And there's so much love for this fest. It's really remarkable. I have a couple of announcements. My name's Paul Nelson. I'm the founder of the Cascadia Poetics Lab. That's our new name as of 3 days ago. And it was hard keeping all this information in to release it in a big burst at the end of the Postcard Fest on September 1st. So we are on a drive to get as many founding supporters as we can. And I'll put the link in the chat. And you saw the new website, CascadiaPoeticsLab.org. It's beautiful. Long live SPLAB. It's now part of history. And there are other big changes coming. We're starting a podcast. I have an interview with Robert Lashley that's going to be airing as soon as we can figure out how to get that into all the right places. So that's coming. And for all the founding supporters, on November 5th, a Friday night, there's going to be a special reading just for people who are founding supporters who have given at least $100 to the organization. It'll feature Brenda Hillman, Daphne Marlett, Sharon Thiessen, and John Olson, 4 brilliant poets, all of whom have participated in events of this organization in years past. In fact, I think I've interviewed all of them as well. So that's on November 5th, and details are forthcoming on CascadiaPoeticsLab.org. I hope you all subscribe to the blog. So, and Adelia has made it into the room. Fantastic. So with that said, I'm going to bring on in just a moment your MC, Richard Osler, from Duncan, British Columbia, and Ina in Silicon Valley, California, and she is the keeper of the list, and so she'll be helping Richard keep track of who's signed up and who's next and that kind of thing. But before we get all that going, we turn it over for a harmonium invocation by Stanley Saber from Deming, New Mexico. Stanley, take it away.
What I'm going to play is Lokas Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, and that's how they end and begin every Amaji celebration. That means, may all the world be happy. And thank you, Paul. So I would just like to add that Allen Ginsberg used to go to the Hare Krishna temple and either play that or Hare Krishna at 5 o'clock in the morning to help people in New York City who are on bad trips come in. And Allen Ginsberg taught himself harmonium and to accompany his poetry. And that's just a little thing that I've learned over the course of time. So thank you, Paul, for inviting me in.
Thank you, Stanley, for your harmonium and for your inspired participation in the fest. I love getting your cards. Thanks, man. All right. 2 years now, Richard's done the Postcard Fest. Is it 2 years?
Yep.
Yep, 2 years. So please welcome from beautiful Duncan, British Columbia, the city of totems, Richard Osler, your master of ceremonies.
Thank you, Paul, and the master of the Postcard Festival, which is the new name, I believe. But it's so great to be here and to celebrate all of you, and just to know that, you know, we screwed up the world so great with just adding so many new postcards to the world and different shapes and sizes. And just so grateful that Paul had this idea. How many years ago was it now, Paul? Was it 7 or something like that?
This was year 15.
This was year 15, so I'm out of that. But just to say welcome to you all. So far, we have about 16 people signed up on the list. And Ina's doing a great job of keeping me in touch as more people sign in. So we have, as of a few minutes ago, room for a few more. Right now, and just so if you're missing, I've got Jody, Shauna, Rancho, Penelope, Ken, Anne Graham Walker, Gabe, Karen, Sigrid, Stanley, Jane, Judy, Bonnie, Stacy, Philip, and Skylar. There may be one or two more, but just if you've asked to be on the list and you're not on the list, go back on the chat and Ina will grab you there, okay? I wish I had a great big Canadian stamp on my forehead, and of Leonard Cohen stamp, maybe the whole thing across my forehead to celebrate what we're going to do here now. I am concerned that we do get everyone able to share, and so I've got this lovely little Buddhist bowl in honor of Allen Ginsberg, but I'm going to, at about 2 minutes and 30 seconds in, and I hope everyone can hear me still, at 2 minutes and 30 seconds in for each of you, I will do a little like that, and don't let it completely discombobulate you, but just a reminder that your time is kind of slipping to an end. So, and yes, just to say that if you want to screen share, do screen share if you want to show some of your images. So, Paul, if there's nothing that I have forgotten here, except to say, yeah, please mute if you're not on reading. I'm ready to go with Jody unless Paul has anything else I have forgotten to say.
I will just, I don't know if Jody's suggesting we need a mental health break or whatever that was on the screen a moment ago. But yeah, but Jody, I don't think you've got the screen share thing figured out. Boy, it's too late for a Zoom primer.
I thought I did. I thought I did have it figured out, but I don't. So I'm just going to read.
Okay, well, stop the screen share for a moment so we don't have to look at the Zoom sign.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I thought I had it, and
never mind. There we go.
We go. Okay. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and read because I thought I had it figured out, and I don't. From Seattle, and I think I'm just going to go from there. The first one is Postcard of London. Flipping through old notebooks, photos, clippings, poems, quotes, flattened matchbooks, hours pass as the sun floats across the southern sky on a warm summer afternoon, and I, caught indoors, forget the garden, the dust, and the dishes, and all other duties, forgiving myself for places I meant to see, words left unspoken, dried up tears, ships that have sailed. The next one is a postcard of a Macau Indian, and it's Macau 1993, Nia Bay. Our heads were filled with magic and a new ancient language. We walked on whaling beaches where history has been forgotten by those who choose to change it. The songs, the food, the stories, the mystical words, clicking and soothing, the craggy, beautiful faces, the clamshell yearning for a different time and place. And then the last one is Another Country. And it is a photo of a beautiful seashore type thing. I loved you in Another Country. There were maps leading us down roads, overseas, into mountains and jungle that we imagined or simply conjured. So we could go on our own way, like birds in a murmuration, whirling, changing with a whim, impossible to follow, off the charts. So if there's a theme, my theme is just thoughts that came to me when I looked at those postcards, and whatever I felt at that time, I just started writing it down, and then it got sent. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Jody. I caught indoor, love that line, and clamshell yearning. Oh my gosh. And I loved you in another country, the poignancy of that. Thank you for those 3 cards.
Thank
Now,
you.
you're so welcome. Shauna.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I am a first timer and I had a great time. I made all my own postcards. I did collage and each of the poems were ekphrastic, so built off of the image. And I have 2 to share. And I want to say that all the postcards that I received were wonderful, and I hope I get a few more because it's just like going to the mailbox and getting a little birthday present every day. So just great. So I'm going to try to screen share, so hopefully this will work. Okay. Alrighty. So this first, did something show up or no? Yep.
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 Okay.
Yep.
For me.
I can't tell which one. Is it the green one with a bird or the blue one?
Both.
The green one with the bird has another postcard overlaid it. The seat
Oh.
one.
Okay, hang on just a minute. Let me go back and see if I can do that again and just pick the one. Okay, let me see if this one goes. Okay, all right, that one. Okay, so this is called Seek. Today I seek to blend skin to sky, soul to cloud. No boundary between me and the white earth of my soul, the flowing endless winds of the universe. Today I am not alone. I wait for moon shadows to light my inner darkness. I open the door to what comes. Okay, and the next one is called Prescription. Take one trip to the outdoors, location of your choice. Locate a white crane of light bone and long wing. Sit, breathing, until every worry drifts off and you become greenly leaved. Sit until every cell is florid with thorough amazement, and call me in the morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, call me in the morning. Oh my goodness.
Greenly leaved.
No, totally greenly leaved and locate a white crane. And today I am not alone. That line struck me. And we're sure not alone today with all these poems and everyone here. What a delight. Thank you so much, Shauna. And Rancho, you are next.
All right, Rancho Chaotic here. I was in 2 groups, group 1 and group 9. I posed as Rancho in group 9 and used Diane de Prima's Revolutionary Letters as a starting point. So those were a little more political and hopefully sometimes radical. I'm gonna share. Did that show up?
Just a bit of it.
There, so
There
that
it is.
was, I did 2 cards for Rancho Chaotic. There was this card. And they all, so I made copies of them, but they all came with their own personal skull. And then there was this card, once again, with their personal skull. But the ones I'm going to read, this was a card for Leggy Bruck. The radio told me. Every night at 10 p.m., WLS in Chicago beamed Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven into my ears, my brain, my blood. How did Pandora know to stream it as I was laying with my mother in hospice, coaxing her to climb? And I got one more. This was for Maggie Meyer. It's called Turning Slowly Towards. I've been turning slowly towards the moon, learning to reflect. It's always been on the top of my list. The moon allows you into the hidden places, not at all like being blinded by the sun to all the universe has to offer. There you go.
Well, Rancho,
WLS.
thank
Yeah.
you. Rancho, where are you from again? I missed that.
Austin, Texas.
Hello, Austin, Texas.
Yes, here we are.
Coaxing her decline.
Yes.
Yeah, the moon allowing us into hidden places.
I liked everyone gets their own personal skull. I think he should put that in both.
Hey, those were great stamps too. I where I found them, I can't remember, but I think I got 100 different. Actually, there was 2 copies of each one, and I've issued many of them to my axe throwing friends. The people down at they're big into stickers, as well as axe throwing, and they have covered their axes with skulls.
Thank you, Rancho. Thank you.
Thank you.
Penelope, you're up.
Hello. So I'm speaking to you from Los Angeles County, California. And this is my 4th year of doing the Postcard Festival. And it's really become an important generative part of my year, where for basically a solid month, almost every day, I do what I should do every day, which is write something new and try to release judgment, just do it. And even if I feel it completely fails, mail it anyway. So I wanted to just try to hold this up to the screen and see if this works. This is a card I received from Abaya Thomas. It's a collage, it's so beautiful. And my responding card was a print of this drawing, which was bits of food I had around the house. And I'll read you the poem that I wrote on the back of the print and sent to Abaya. Dear Abaya, I have eaten all of them. Heirloom tomato first to go, its male contortions yummy. Then the beet, green onion, garlic. The lime went in my drink. Half the dancing ginger man lives on in the cupboard. Oh, I am such a cannibal. I woo my darlings, then I wolf them. And I'll read one more. This one was kind of a response card to Deborah Marshall, who sent me a poem about dragonflies. Frail green being on the outside of the sliding glass door, at eye level eyeing me as I push the blinds open, then springing away to biscuit-colored tile, to walk in a halting, humping way toward the big pot of Cuban oregano. Mantis, please stay. Please pray for me. Thank you.
That lovely reference to the mantis. And I don't know whether you're referring to, the San people of the Kalahari, but they pray to the mantis. Love that. And just your reference to, I think in that first line to William Carlos Williams, I've eaten all of them. You sure have. And that poor gingerman man, I want to go and rescue him.
What about the Cuban oregano, Penelope? How long you been eating Cuban oregano? That's intense, isn't it?
Yeah, you can only use a little bit. I put a tiny bit into salads, and it doesn't really work in cooking, but it's beautiful. Got a huge pot of it out there.
Yeah, Cuban things are intense. Watch out.
Thank you so much, Penelope. And Ken, you are up now. Thank you.
Yeah, hello. This is my 2nd year. I was in group 13 this year. Basically what I tried to do was to say something about the place that the cards came from. So some of the references may be a bit esoteric unless you're from that place. But first card was from Roseville, California. Joyce Henry. Roseville is on Route 50, which goes up over the Sierras and across the Nevada. It's called the loneliest highway in America. I've been to the swap, taken the lonely highway, had a dip in the American. Did the tourist thing in Placerville, lost some money in Tahoe, found Eureka in the desert, saw a golden eagle eat a skunk, Zion, here I come. Second one came from Eagle Lake, Minnesota, which is in Blue Earth County, where there's the Blue Earth River. So it reads, Blue Earth River, blue clay, Dakota canoes hewed from cottonwoods, masters of waterways, silently gliding like eagles and fishing like osprey, living in a blue paradise. We won't talk of mosquitoes. And then the third one is came from Duluth, Minnesota. By the way, I've been to all these places too. So, but Duluth, Minnesota. I've been on that frozen hill above a frozen lake, with a wild, punishing wind slapping me in the face. I remember wishing that I was back in Fairbanks. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we won't worry about mosquitoes. Oh, can't say that up here. That's for sure. I've been to the swamp and I took the lonely highway. Thank you. So evocative. Just took us to those places without needing, to see the pictures on the cards. Thank you so much, Ken. And
actually, that was the swap. There's a famous swap mill in Roseville. So
thank you.
Meat, sorry.
My neighbor, just north of me here on Vancouver Island, and Graham Walker, you are up.
Right. I just unmuted myself. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm Richard Snaber, and I live in Anoose Bay. I had fun making my cards as collages, and then I started writing the poems, so they're not acrostic. And the poems covered like a whole different range of topics. Yeah, unfortunately, they weren't themed because, well, my life's been really chaotic the last month, but I won't go into that. And you'll be able to tell from the poems I read that they're just all really different. The first one I'm going to read is just called Shoes. They're all very short. It's called, yeah, Shoes. So I'll read it. Look at your shoes. Have they taken on the full meaning of you? How you choose to step into the world, lean into each day. Did they miss a year of your life during COVID? I wrote some poems. I wanted to address the topic of ecological disaster. And this one came to me when I was writing The Ferry from, I live on Vancouver Island, from Vancouver Island to Nanaimo. And I read about Cappuccino. So this is an elegy to Cappuccino, who is K21 in the resident whale pod. Cappuccino, the southern resident orca whale guy, returned emaciated and lagging miles behind his pod. Ominous, the peanut head sign. They die, these wise endangered whales, each one a sign of what acidic seas and collapsed salmon stocks has done. He's died since then. And so then I'm pretty sure that this is going to be really different from anyone else's, what anyone else is going to read. And it is a little strange, but one of the first people I met when I moved to Anoose Bay 19 years ago was a cat lady who lived down the street. And she died a couple of weeks ago. So this is Elegy for Barbara. Her best friends were striped, marmalades, calicos, two matted puffballs, a short and a long-haired blackie. She came at dusk in oldest pants and frayed knee pads, a plastic bucket filled with fishy-smelling food. Perhaps a little strange, her fluency in meow, her babies wrapped in fur. She was the cat lady in the rain, in the sun. She had a name for each one. That's it. That's my elegy for Barbara.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Anne. And fluent in yell. Was that what you said?
Fluency in meow. Yeah, well, she was
Meow,
very
yeah,
fluent in
love
meow.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you give us a meow?
No, I'm not fluent in meow,
Okay.
but she
Meow.
spoke.
Oh dear. And the shoes, have they taken on the full meaning of you? Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to ask my Crocs that one day. Thank you so much, Anne. And we have Gabe now. Gabe, hello, how are you?
Hi there, I'm doing well. I started with the fest in 2015 down in Austin. I've been receiving and sending postcards from 2 different locations in Austin and 3 to 4 different locations in New Jersey since then. So currently I'm in Fort Lee, New Jersey. Beautiful view of the city from the balcony here. And yeah, I have also had my life be especially chaotic and upturned in the past year. So I'm still working on my postcards for this year. So I'm gonna read the one that I have sent out and the last one that I sent out for last year, which was basically at the end of December. So I'm gonna start with, I'll start with the one from this year and then I'll read the previous one. So that was on this card. So you can see that. And the poem itself is called Nothing I Dreamed of. You still see the card?
Yep.
Okay, good.
I can.
Nothing I dreamed of. Lucky me, I haven't been shot by a gleeful intruder yet. It's a poem about things that I dreamed about that haven't come true. Yeah, sorry. Nothing I dreamed of. Lucky me, I haven't been shot by a gleeful intruder yet. My manuscripts remain untaken. Lightning tried to burn my house down, but failed. I didn't meet Steve Martin randomly on the street. He didn't ask me to sign his photo. I'm not married to my best friend anymore, but she's still my best friend. And I have so much I never dreamed of. Words come to me slower than ever, but they do come. Lucky me. That's one. And then, like I said, from the end of December, my postcard number 31 from 2020 is called Doritos Flamin' Hot Nacho. And it has the in the epigraph, bet you can't eat just one. Like the old Lay's bet, the moment a chip touches my lips, I transform to a salt and crunch addict. The savory cheese with its aggressive heat emerging in aftertaste from tortillas, perfectly textured, edges rounded, with a thickness designed to crumble at the slightest pressure from my teeth and to drop flavor like a gift onto every scorched taste bud. And I overeat them, which is to say I eat them at all. Nose running, lips tingled numb, coughing fiery dust from my lungs like a cartoon cheetah, throat clogged with napalm saliva, mouth leaving neon red smears on napkins like tubercular blood. In an hour, it stings when I pee. A couple more and my intestines squeeze like a fist. In a decade or two, they'll probably be banned carcinogens, but for now, I chase their flames with clementine crescents that burst with flavor, rendered twice as vivid to my tongue's eager, swollen receptors. I will embrace a great deal of pain if it tastes good and sweetness follows.
Thank you, Gabe. I will embrace pain. Woo. and if sweetness follows. Thank you so, so much. And Karen, you are next.
Thank you. I wrote 62 postcards, and sort of near the end, I was hoping the poems would still come. And I had this picture of potato pancakes, latkes, and it inspired me to write 6 poems, which I was grateful for. I used the same image for all of them. I don't know if that's cheating or not, but the poems were brand new and spontaneously written. I'll read one, maybe 2 of them, but they're very short. I'll just start with one. When latkes are frying, our entire home embraces the aroma of potatoes tangled up with onions, weeping together in the triangle-shaped pan I often use. If you walk in when pancakes are being made, you know what's afoot. And the next one, I think I will read the poem before I show the image. Our daughter was home for a while over summer, and she took a very brief trip to Denver, which turned out very differently than what she thought. Her friend immediately got them in a truck and drove to the mountains, and they hiked for the 3 days she was there. And this is her, this is the result of that trip. She was sitting in our living room and telling us about the trip. And I know a gift when it's given to me, and I ran to get a blank postcard to write down what she said. So this is a found poem. Moose grazing near a mountain road. Epigraph, our daughter indignant after a trip with a friend. I believe that the lowest rung of reincarnation is not stopping to look at a moose. And that's basically how the whole trip was. And I remembered that in high school, she had done a linoleum block print of a moose. So I used that for the card with her permission and had a lot of fun with it. And that's what I'll read. I will say that writing 62 poems was a real challenge. And I agree with what Penelope said. I really got into what you said, Penelope, that it's a major kind of inspiration for the whole year, the poems that I come up with during the festival. It's wonderful. It's just a wonderful creative time, and it's so encompassing. And I love the synergy between the postcards that I make and the poem. They're not always, the poem is not always about the picture, but I just love creating them. And a few, I used a couple of images off the internet, but mostly photos that I took, or in a couple of cases, collages. And it was a lot of fun to do. So thank you, Paul, and everyone who participates.
Karen, you had a request about the daughters line in the chat. Can you say about I think it was the reincarnation.
Yeah, the lowest rung of reincarnation is not stopping to see a moose.
Yeah, to look at a moose, yeah.
To look at a moose. Yeah. That's a good one. Thank you so much. And getting that found poem is beautiful. You just brought that experience so alive. Thank you so much. And next is Sigrid. Did I say your name right? Sigrid?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. I can.
You can hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good. Okay, just 2 shakes here. Oh, you guys know how good I am. There. Share. Now, I must have had a panic attack on my way to the computer, because I did the front and then I put the cards down and don't know what I did with them. Oh, I gotta turn the light on, hold on. Oh, 4-letter words. I had everything written out so I wouldn't take too much time. And here I am.
Don't you
putzing.
worry. Sigrid, you just
Okay,
take your time with it.
I live near Bar Harbor in Down East Maine. I survived the tail end of Hurricane Ida. I'd planned this differently to be more organized, but of course it didn't happen. And I decided I would write only when I had good mental energy. It seemed to happen only after midnight in the quiet of the night. So I have here my living room. My desk has had sunflowers on it for the last month that were given to me. I didn't grow them. And when I put the cards down, I thought I'd remember who sent them, and I only remember one. But that's Tim's, I believe. And this one arrived a few days ago, and that's the one that's been sitting in front of my oh Lord, love a duck, my sunflowers.
Judy Jensen.
Okay, but because I don't know what I'm doing, just a second. Lord, love a duck. I have some poems that I wrote. I think I have to stop sharing to be able to read them though. But you know, you guys have gotten me so that I can actually work through my computer now. Okay, I'm going to read the three of the first ones that I sent out, so people should have them already. Watching the Olympics, as I have since long ago, a black and white TV, aluminum foil on rabbit ears. My father would do commentary. I'd wonder if I could fly. That was the first one. The Olympics amaze me. Since I was young, TV in black and white, wondering who thought of the high jump and why. And I can't think of his name, the guy that went over backwards.
The Fosbury flop.
Thank you. I thought I knew how to do this. Some years more than others. Whoops. I got to get my last line on here for me. Please be patient. There we go. Some years more than others, the Olympics grabbed my attention as men and women attempt to be the best things I'd never try. And so I do want to thank everybody who sent me messages and extra postcards and in my Facebook thing. It's been a difficult month, but I got everybody's cards out, I think. So if group one didn't get their cards, let me know. I did take pictures and they're still on the camera, so I know where they are. And thank you, Tim. You were a peach the last 6 weeks. Thank you.
Take care of your heart, Sigrid.
Thank you,
Yes.
Sigrid. And Sigrid, I can answer a question you asked in one of your poems. You said, I wonder if I can fly. Lady, you can fly. You can fly.
Thank you.
Your words
Thank
lift
you.
you up. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we're doing great. What? You got one more thing, Sigrid?
One more second. Oh my God. I want to tell you that when I got the news my daughter was ill, the first person I thought of was someone in Texas in the postcard group. And thank you. It was, I didn't know who else, and I guess you guys are my family now. Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Stanley, you are now our poetry postcard reader.
All right, now, Carlton, you got share screen. Carlton, I'm looking at yours. Anyway, Okay, so Stanley Saber, I live in Deming, New Mexico, and I've been in the fest. I just signed up for my 8th year. I love it. I send postcards all year, and Walter Lowe and I both send lots of postcards to what's it called, Postcard Crossing. But I like putting all the stamps on those overseas ones. What I'd really like to share today, I got some really cool postcards yesterday. And one of them was from a lady in Tahunga, California, Gina. And this, I don't know if you can see this, I can't share screen. I haven't pictured it. I haven't sent pictures, but this says Urban Sketchers. Now, the art of urban sketching, I don't know if any of you have done it, but we started an urban sketching group 4 months ago, and we have 3 members in it now. And one of them signed up for the Postcard Fest, Diana Lamar, and she's never written anything in her life, and she's so happy that she calls me every day with the poems she's writing. It's really cool. And she's writing like, page, and I say, you got to cut these into a third to get them on a postcard. And she laughs. Anyway, okay, so the Urban Sketchers, this postcard right here is a collage from the Urban Sketchbook, and it's really, really good. My next thing that I wanted to talk about was Mary Beth Folan. So here we have 56 days. Let me see. Is this on?
Yeah.
There we are. Okay, that's Mary Beth Folan's Mailbox. And it's in the first page of the 56 days. And you can see, the tree hasn't grown up much, but yesterday I got this poem. I hope I can show it on here. From her. Okay, whoops. Come back a little bit. Can anybody see that?
I saw
Anyway,
that it was on page 17.
Yeah, that was the first book, but this came yesterday, which is it's called Front Yard, Mailbox, and Bird Feeders, Mary Beth Folan Watercolor 2021, Brainerd, New York. Okay, there it is. And it shows how big the tree's grown, the bird feeders. Anyway, I think she made 50 copies of that. So those of you who are on group 1 may get one. So it's a bonus card from Mary Beth Folan. And it is a beautiful watercolor. It's frameable, it's lovable, and I'm glad I'm a part of her life. And who was it? Sigurd. Sigurd said, I guess this is my family. Well, believe it or not, my sister just wrote to me, and she's like my younger sister. And we had a nephew die last weekend. And she said, well, I have to go because I'm the head of the family. And it's like, I said to Risha, my wife, I'm not the head of the family anymore, even though I'm the oldest one. My sister has taken over that, and you're my family. This is my family. I love it. And my third thing that I want to first I want to show. I haven't heard anybody. Is that the bowl?
Yeah, you got 30 seconds, Stanley.
Okay. Then I want to read. This is from Zen Shit and the Homeboys. The postcards poets used were things of beauty, though Popo Fest is not about the postcards. Many poets consider the cards as important as the poems. During the 31 days of August, these postcard poems are mailed to 31 poets on a list with the expectation of receiving one a day in return, like a creative vitamin. And I want to thank Terry Holtzman because I've used creative vitamin. My cards are about connection. This is a drawing I sent in to Amaji in a contest for kids of all ages. And mine was picked to be presented to her. And so I made 100 postcards. And when I signed up for my second list, I have just enough to send the rest of them out. But my theme is connection, and telepathically I send good morning to everybody. especially to Tim Mateer down in Austin and Carla Schaefer up in Bellingham.
Thank you
Namaste.
so much, Stanley. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Thank you. And your passion for this project just flowed through. Thank you. Jane, you are now next.
Jane, got to unmute yourself.
Jane, are you there?
I am here. Am I unmuted now?
Yeah, I see you.
Okay. Well, this is Jane Swanson from the woods on Bainbridge Island in the state of Washington. And I have permission to read Bruce Greeley's haiku from group 11. And he calls it a cheap doggerel joke. I call it genius. I think I may be allergic to short poems. Ha, 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 haiku. Excuse me. And one that I sent out, I waited days for the muse to come. It didn't. I waited 2 more days, feeling it was hopeless. I gave up. Today, the muse came, galloping on the road. I could hear it coming. It paused at the end of the driveway and beckoned, "Come, let's ride." And my experience poem from 2021, the no theme theme. No blank cards for my own creation. Just find a card, any card, new or old, ones I held on to for years. Antique card of medieval people eating at the table. Greeting card turned postcard, travel cards from a trip in 2018. Seems so long ago. Now I hesitate to travel. Then finding the words to put on the other side. So I got behind, couldn't find a pen, or stared at card again, or pressure's on. Just write anything. And the postcard that I wrote and didn't want to send because I wanted to keep it was Wise Eating in Wartime. Dear Karen, I plowed my lawn into a garden, trying my hand at winter gardening, lettuce, kale, spinach, baby bok choy, peas. This temperate climate gives me hope of eating salad in November. Now back to work.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jane. You took us on a travel. You said, let's ride, and we did with you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Judy, you are up next.
Hello.
Hello.
It's I'd like to start by thanking Paul and Rich and Ina for pulling this together. It's so lovely. Ooh, what happened here? Oh, there we go. For pulling this open mic together. It's so lovely to see, you know, old faces to old names and new faces to new names. And Sigrid, it makes me so happy that my postcard is with your sunflowers. This year, I've been doing the festival ever since the beginning. And most years as Float Press, I design and letterpress postcards on my 1908 Golden Jobber number 6. And as we were honoring Mike McClure and Diane DePrima this year, it made the choice easy. I went with these excerpts from De Prima's revolutionary letter. Tim, it's so funny, our minds are on the same track. And it feels like these revolutionary poems, they embody De Prima's spirit. And they're more relevant than ever as our country is just reeling under social and political unrest, the pandemic, global warming. And in this climate, I just really appeal to bring flowers to a love-in. And for the first time, I grew pink and orange red zinnias in my garden. So the flowers that you see here are actually flowers from my garden. To prepare for these poems, I read De Prima's memoirs of the beatnik and the poetry deal. And initially I thought I could poems that would be in response to her poems, but quickly moved to a more realistic time option and went with haikus, or in this case, I'm calling them De Primakus. The first lines are last lines from her poems in the poetry deal, and they bring with them the possibilities of exploring her territories of activism, feminism, and Buddhism. Some of my haikus are political, but most ended up springing from my obsession with nature. And I did try some Buddhist influenced haikus, but I find it really challenging, and I'd be to how others do it, because it seems like you can write a Buddhist poem or you can write a good poem, but you can't have both. So it's because it's difficult to bring something original and startling to that particular party. In one of the examples here, you'll see that I'm channeling Yoda, it seems, rather than Buddha. A season of song wings up from the undertow, crushed salt on the tongue. Over these hills, a light, first bird squall, a call to morning. Do or not, each breath a choice, each choice a spot, each choice a bridge. Thank you all, and I hope to see you next year.
Thank you.
Beautiful,
Thank you.
Judy. I loved getting this card. Fantastic.
I'd love you to write an ode to the Golden Jobber #6. Oh my God, that is so great. Was it 1908 or 1909? Fantastic.
1908. I'll do one just for you.
Thank you, thank you. Isn't this just too much fun? Oh my gosh. And we're doing great. And thank you all for, pretty well staying on time. Some tiny bit over, lots under, so we're just doing great. So Bonnie, it is you. Come and bring us into your poetry world, please.
Okay, am I sharing the screen?
Soon, I think. I haven't seen anything yet.
Whoops, hang on a second. Okay.
There we go.
All right. So Penelope mentioned earlier that the Postcard Festival is kind of an ongoing ekphrastic exercise, and I believe it is. And what I like to do is take some photographs and then see where the image takes me, however long after the image was taken. The three postcards that I'll be reading and the three images were from a time I was living in Seville, Spain. This is called On the Line. Yesterday is hung on the line next to Tuesday and Sunday. Moments taken from interwoven fabric, dissolved and rinsed away, all that was so important spun into freshness. That which is rarely seen is lifted and swayed by indifferent winds that blow rooftop to rooftop, sock to towel, to boxers to dress, commingling our private interiors. Okay. And the next image you should see. This is called La Fabrica, the old factory. Unnamed on the map, a jester's street tempts me to walk past long vacant doorways every inch of wall painted with lively images or graffiti. Once, this area housed a hat factory, now a bastion for hipster artists attempting a cooperative. I turn left to a breezeless corner, feel the hand-trimmed felt hat rest briefly on my head, then vanish. This was an old hat factory. Okay. And the last one, on watch. There are witnesses, always witnesses, to the wartime pillage of art, to the acts of charity that bring dignity to the forgotten. Inside, ornate gold and silver, a counterpoint to the Black Death. This is how we continue to live, ostentatious facades distracting from what happens on the street. And still a witness with glowing green eyes. Thank you. And if anyone is interested and has not had enough inspiration yet for the end of the year, you can join Jody and I. We're going to be doing a writing retreat in Guanajuato, Mexico. I'll put the link in the chat.
Thank you. Thank you, Bonnie. Love the way you said chat. Oh my goodness. And yesterday is hung on the line. Next to Tuesday. This is line envy, number one. Many line envies today. And Adelia and Anne Graham Walker, among the rest of us, I think, just love the line that you did about commingling our private interiors. Oh my gosh. Thank you. And none of that really got washed away. Thank you for your poem so much. And okay, Stacy, how are you and where are you?
I'm well, and I'm in Seattle, thanks. And it's fun. This is my second year doing this, and one of the most, what should I say, amazingly, surprisingly enjoyable parts of the first year was when people responded to my poem. That's sort of sending words out and that call and response of hearing them echoed in some other way. So I tried to do a little bit of that this year. So I will read, this is a card from Karen is here. So I'll read the response poem I wrote for her. And Stanley, if you could tell me what this means in the chat, I would love to know what these words are saying. And I loved getting your beautiful card. And I think I heard Adelia was here. So I'll read one poem that was a response to Karen, and then I'll read a poem which is the first lines of all the cards I've received, mashed together, unless somebody yells stop, but I'm not allowed to do that. So Karen's was, my mother loved the wooden clothespins with the two little carved notches there for no reason other than to make the ordinary beautiful. And the first line poem says, aloha, Stacy. I'm sending a half turn, crystalline snowflakes, they drank their color, empty freighters, the bag of wooden clothespins. Yesterday I redid Atlanta and it lined a year of losses. I will hold on to this plant. To fire, cried the silver man. He leaves his work, a structure of dreams. Sit by the shore, waiting without complaint. This ladder has no end. That's it. Thank you for putting this together and all of the beautiful poems I received. And I think there must be more on the way, because if anybody was counting, that poem only had 18 lines. So I'm looking forward to September postcards rolling in. But thanks for putting this together.
Stacy, thank you. And you did a cento of those, you know, where you take a line from everyone else's poem, and you did a beautiful cento. And did I get your line right? To make the ordinary beautiful, the notches in the clothes paper?
Yeah, then to make the ordinary beautiful. Yep.
And isn't that what we're doing as poets? That's our calling. And boy, are you guys answering that calling today. Thank you so much. And Philip, where are you?
Well, I'm in Paris right now.
Whoa, comment ça va, monsieur?
Ça va bien, merci.
Ah, tout va bien.
I wrote all these poems in Amarillo, Texas, and I wasn't sure I was going to get to Paris or even participate, because of the time change, but Paul pointed out to me that you were starting at 10 a.m. in Seattle, which made it possible to be a reasonable hour in Paris. I somehow got into, this is my second year with the postcard thing, and I somehow got into 3 groups, 4, 7, and 10. All the postcards I sent were photographs that I made into postcards 30 years ago, and I didn't write any of the poems in relationship to the postcards. And I don't have any images with me to show. I got some gorgeous cards from other people. And I've discovered 4 ladies who live on Black Birch Trail in Florence, Massachusetts, that I would love to meet, because I just can't imagine how that happened. At any rate, here are a handful of poems that I wrote. I don't know how much time I have, but we'll just say I've got that much.
You got 2 minutes. You're in good shape.
Good. This is a poem I wrote for the 18th of August, Flower Discovery. 5 words on each line, 8 lines in each stanza. Try to make new flowers. Unrelated, dangerous, wife, not pretty, smelly, dirty, needs a laundry. Morning, noon, and night labor with magic. Write brightly, poet. Keep your thoughts to yourself. And then here's a poem I wrote for the 12th of August. Stranger, an old man slows before he goes, remembers to not be in a hurry. The elderly have lost control. They're angry to be vulnerable, to be unseen, not even recognized as a group, often discriminated. Who cares what they, then you must dispose of them. Where? And here's a poem I wrote for the 4th of August. Stranger, the old man sits on his porch listening to his dog. Occasionally he answers in a language both understand. Food, rest, sex does not pay the bills, nor explain why they both exist. Nothing makes sense. So why do they both look for affection? And then one last one I wrote on the 20th of August. Stranger, first thing usually in the morning, stop before frantic begins. Consider if your next move remembers your past. Today I read, quote, to whip us into submission, unquote. Christ, woman, I thought, given what happened here, how can you urge us there? I am ashamed of our history, how we keep repeating it. And thanks to everybody. I love the Postcard Festival.
Well, thank you. And thank you from Paris. And stop before frantic begins. That's going to be my new mantra when I wake up in the morning. And food, rest, sex does not pay the bills. Take your pick of which one. However, the I could tell you've got some interesting line breaks there, and they were fun to hear sonically. Thank you so much, and have a really good evening. Okay, Skylar, welcome.
Hello. Yeah. Is this working right?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
It's being kind of weird on my screen. Okay, fine. This was my first Poetry Postcard Fest, and you always remember your first. And this was my first card from Mr. Tim Matier. So thank you very much. What I worked on was I used a theme of the alphabet. And let me see if I can bring that up. Yeah, got it. And so here's a few of the ones that emerged. I had a stack of vintage postcards that were just kind of random scenes. And so I felt like I was giving myself a double chance to either write to the image or write to the letter form. And I considered the letter forms to be kind of atoms of poetry. So that's kind of what was driving this theme. The first one you can see is, oh, and then I also used stencils to airbrush the letter forms on top of the vintage cards. So I had a lot of fun making these. For C, easy to cotton to, a letter so easygoing, it can say C, slippery, smooth, or call like a fish crow, or hang out quietly with K while a canvasback quacks. C is a prize crackerjack. And for J, I'm a hook fishing, looking below the line, ready to jimmy open windows and let light jingle in. And for K, a kiss, of course, but for balance, knee out like a kickstand, keeping everyone on kilter.
You are so organized. I love it, Skylar. That's fantastic.
I love the Poetry Fest. This has been such an experience, taking the workshops and meeting so many wonderful people from all over. And I appreciate everything you do, Paul.
Bless you. Bless you, Skylar. Thanks.
And Skylar, where are you from again? Is it the Midwest somewhere?
Wichita, Kansas.
In Kansas.
In the middle of the.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. And oh, just it's so lovely to see your love of words and others here too, of course, but just the way you use the alphabet and played, particularly the J was just, and the C was just, and it was playful and serious too. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are doing really well. I think we're in good shape here. And Carla, welcome.
Thank you. So I'm Carla Schaefer and I'm in Bellingham, Washington, which is Bellingham.
You're my neighbor. You're my neighbor.
Right. South of you and north of Paul. And it's about my 12th year, I think. I find postcards in various boxes around the house, and the furthest one back, I think, is about 2007, 2006. And I really enjoy the August writing. It's, I'm completely open to whatever comes, and I like to respond to what people have sent me. And this year I used postcards primarily by Emily Carr, which is a woman from Victoria, British Columbia, and used to go up on a log truck with loggers and paint in the forest back in the 1930s and before. 1930. Am I right? Yeah.
Yeah, and 40s.
Yeah, amazing woman. So I have and I don't intend to write on a theme, but I notice every year that themes come up. And this year it has a lot to do with present moments. So why paint stumps and sky? It's the title of a painting by Emily Carr. In several hundred years, we take what we want for this house, that shed, under a watchful sky. We remove forests, let birds and animals, owls and coyotes fend for themselves or die off under a changing sky. Emily reminds us to look up, look out, and in awareness, pick up pieces of the future. Hold them gently. They are so light and easy to hide. Some will need them later. You'll be ready beneath the watchful sky. And the line, they are so light and easy to hide, is from a poem by William Stafford, and its title is Any Morning. And this is About the Morning, number 3. I used the title About the Morning probably 6 times. It just seemed like a great way to title a poem. About the Morning, number 3, Amtrak Ride, 8/11/2021. How the world breathes, one great inhalation, sacred oxygen, corrupted by gases manufactured from oil and coal, and still we breathe. Clouded by wildfire smoke, condo air filters run constantly. Neighbors abandon walks. Some share, some take and squander. Sacred breath. And forward she goes, When he was 5, my grandson handed me a book I had given him, a science zine for kids, and said, "You can have this, Grandma. I'm not ready for it yet." I would like to say I'm not ready for this yet about many things. Today, my baby granddaughter is teaching herself to crawl, risking one push forward after another. "Hey, Grandma," she is saying, "this is what ready looks like." And the last one is about morning number 5. And this was written for, in response to the person that got it, lives along the Tonawanda River Road, which is near Buffalo where I taught. About morning number 5. In 1969, a soft-spoken elder from the Tonawanda people, not on the school board approved list of speakers, came to my Genesee Humboldt classroom and talked to 7th graders about legends and real histories of his family handed down for generations. Never amenable to strangers at school, this day students stood back as he crossed the threshold, took their seats and sat quietly, eyes up, listening, wondered where time went. Later, wore the skins of family stories, more like pride. Thanks. So I said, wait, August. Appreciate it.
Carla, talk about the peace postcards. If just
Oh yes, well, the CJ Prince, who will read shortly, and I decided that February would be a great month for another postcard run. So we do the World Peace Poets Peace Postcards Festival for the month of February. So it's either 28 or 29 days, and it's international. So far, about 90 people have signed up. We're open to more people joining.
put your email address in the chat so people can get you.
Okay,
Thank you.
it's chucking@sandstone@gmail.
Nice job.
And Mary Beth is saying that it's lovely to have a face to go with the peace postcards, Carla. So thank you. And under a changing sky and under a watchful sky, and still we breathe. Thank God for that. Thank you for the breath you've given us in your poems this morning. Morning here on the West Coast. CJ, you are up. And do we get 2 CJs in stereo or just one? Are you there, CJ? Unmuted.
Oh, here. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
CJ Prince in Bellingham, Washington also. And I will read my 3 poems. And he walked with angels, said he was an atheist. How many times did he escape death? Approaching 90, he turned in his body. August 19th, Dad's death day. My laptop is a Ouija board pointing east, fire in the east. My brother's mind wanders south to a happy place. I tell him about our childhood. And I have one more. Sorry, I don't have a printer. A corporation walks into Starbucks, orders a cup of curry coffee. She waves to another corporation, joins him, her. A corporate spy at the next table puts on his digital brownie red lipstick microphone. A sudden beeping, buzzing, ringing chaos. All the corporations look at his, her, they, their, them, corporate phones, curses, moans, disbeliefs, mumbling. Cuomo's out. I lost my contacts. Effing A. Each corporation disassembles in corporate panic. The corporate spy taps out a code on his high heel and exits the back door. So those are my 3 poems. And I would like to say that Paul is joining Haiku Komokulshan in November to talk about the American sentence. We're so excited for that. What else? What else? Just thank you so much. I'm so happy always to see Ina. We only met once, but we see each other almost every day sharing cat pictures on Instagram. And I really, Paul, like having the Facebook link where I can see the remarks of people. And of course, it's lovely to see you all animated. And I just will keep writing and drawing. Thank you.
On that Ouija board of a computer of yours. Thanks, CJ. My book, American Sentences, 17-syllable poems from daily practice going back to January 1st, 2001. The second edition is being launched on September 22nd, which is my 60th birthday. And there will be a party here down the street at Umami Kushi, which has these little pond with lentils or lemongrass chicken or barbecue pork and lots of sake. And I can't provide sake for people who go to the Zoom link, but there'll be a post on my blog, paulenelson.com. So I wanted to mention that. And I forgot to mention that during the introduction. And also, Skylar was kind enough to mention the workshops details. Yeah, only 60. Ha! You want to see? Look at this. Anyway, Skylar was kind enough to mention my workshops, and spaces are filling up. Poetics as Cosmology 2021. There's a link at paulenelson.com. Get with me if you can't find it, and there you have it. Yes, CJ, good. Or Jody, yes, Jody. Thank you for taking that. There will be a post on my site going live on Monday. So thanks.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Thank you, CJ. If you see on the chat, a nice response to he turned in his body. Oof. And he's in a happy place. I tell him about it. Okay, so we have up now Linda, and then after Linda there'll be Lawrence, and then Rich M. And so that's going to take us right to probably 11:30. So just time watching would be great. Let's go. 3 to go. Thank you. Just incredible.
Hi. Hi, Richard. Hi, Paul. Hi, everybody. I just feel like I know you all, and I feel like you're all in my room here with me. It's wonderful. The poems I've been hearing today are just, I love the fest so much. I've been doing it every year since Paul invented it. Okay. Oh, yeah. Wait a minute. How do I do this share thing? There we go.
And Linda, it's thanks to you that I got on board last year. So there you go. Thank you.
There you go. What goes around comes around. Okay. Okay, this first one, what I did this year was I read Diane de Prima's Revolutionary Letters, and I made a list of all her first lines. And then I just randomly picked one as I went through the list. I did it in order this year, Paul. And I wrote all my poems directly onto the cards, and I just really enjoyed this exercise. So the first lines of the 3 poems I'm going to read are Diane de Prima's, and then I just went from there. I didn't reread her original poems. I just wanted to sort of see where her line took me. So this first one is, I have just realized that the stakes are myself. However, I decide to drive them. Smoke hangs heavy among the unburnt trees that tremble in their nervousness, knowing they could be next. We are all sentient beings. We bring what we have to this party called life, to this game where the stakes grow higher every day. I throw mine in with the rest. And the next one. Next one went to Skylar. Hi, Skylar. First line was, left to themselves, people. Find poems in the oddest places. A conversation overheard. A sign in a shop window. the sound wind makes when it tugs the leaves from the maple, a cat purring as it waits for you to finish writing, the hypnotic talk of a clock. Left to themselves, people take these poems and set them free to wander, pilgrims searching for home. And the third one. Obviously, the images have little, if anything, ever to do with the poems. This one went to Penelope. Let's talk about splitting. Splitting is an art, as well as a city in Croatia, not to split hairs, which of course can have split ends. If you do the splits once, is it a split? If you do it wrong, it's a splat. Had a splitting headache once before I split up with the cause and married the guy who splits wood to keep me warm all winter. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Big chuckles there. I just love it. Split goes to splat. Just lovely wordplay. And the hypnotic talk of a clock. I'm in envy because I keep wanting to do fun things with tick and talk and hypnotic talk. And a poem as a pilgrim searching for home. Isn't that so much of what our poems are, Linda? They are, and they're pilgrims taking us home too, I think sometimes, to what we don't know, we know. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Did you tell everyone that you were from Nelson and you've been fighting fires up there, or it's?
No, I didn't, but I am.
Utashenia.
Utashenia, yeah.
Exactly, just outside Nelson. Lawrence, are you there?
Thank you. This has been great. Really a lot of fun, as is the entire month of August and the month of July when I started creating my postcards. For me, the postcards, this is my second year, and for me, the Postcard Festival is an opportunity to work on art every day. Secondarily, write something and send it to a stranger, which I thoroughly enjoy, and looking forward to doing it again next year. I'm going to read a few things that I got from other people rather than my own. As I said, I'm more visual than I am a verbal person. So I think.
Lawrence, did you get permission from those folks to read their work?
Oh, I did not. I did not.
I would hesitate to read other people's work. I mean, showing the images I think is fair game, but we tell them in the beginning, no one can publish your work, and this is a sense publishing. So,
I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I wasn't aware of that.
That's all right. You got something to read?
Well, I could find some. Well, no, I think I'll just pass.
Lawrence, if you want to find something, I'll get Rich to.
Well, I could ask. I could ask somebody right now.
You go and get us a poem, okay?
How about if I ask, Robin Hunt, if I may read her poem?
Hey, if she's in the house, that's right.
Robin is in the house. Robin, are you there?
I am, and what a surprise. Yes, that would be fine.
Oh, good.
Wonderful. All right.
Wonderful. Thank you, Robin. I didn't realize that that was a requirement, but.
No, this will be fun.
And Lawrence, look at this here.
Yes. One of my lovely postcards.
I could read it if I can decipher all your handwriting.
Well, that's a problem with me. I should probably type them out instead of try to handwrite them. This is from Robin Hunt, and she was the name right under my name. So that makes her, I guess, the last one I would get, right? Anyway, and it was the first line that caught me. How to hold to wholeness. As elsewhere, evacuations, detentions, wildfires, imprison too many. Hum your favorite lullaby, spread verse.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. And this was something I wanted to share. If you could see that, I'm not sure. Is it upside down? No, it's a painting.
Might be upside down, yeah.
It's a painting. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Now it's upside down.
No, okay. It's a,
Now I'm getting dizzy.
it's a painting of a bookstore in Washington, D.C., Chevy Chase. It just so happens that I was in that bookstore almost exactly a month ago. And let's see, Angela Gartner sent me the postcard with a lovely poem about birds, which I guess I won't read, but it was such a coincidence that I had just been in that bookstore. I haven't been in Washington since 1965. I happened to go there for a project, and then I get this postcard. It was just an amazing kind of serendipitous experience for me. So thank you very much, Angela.
Thanks, Lawrence.
That's about all I'll do.
I love getting your card. I love the encaustics that you do. Really fantastic.
Well, may I add one thing about that? I mean,
Yeah.
that has been such an amazing experience because I wanted to, they're like sketches, right? They're like sketchbook work. It's not finished work, but some of them were so successful. I felt like I'd finally found my technique and even my style. They're collages made up of doodles from years ago, things I collected as always, and I'm trying to figure out a way to recycle them into a current activity. And this was just wonderful for me. I'm on my 47th one right now. And those will be enlarged and made into larger works of artwork because I felt like finally I'm getting somewhere with all that effort.
Beautiful.
And it was partly because of obviously because of the postcard requirement to keep, producing these things that I had some success. So thank you everyone for participating, and I hope you enjoy the cards.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing that synchronicity of the card and you being in that bookshop and being in Washington for the first time in 40 years. Thank you. So, Rich M., you are going to take us home, and I'm just going to say, after that, I'll be signing off. I have another Zoom commitment I want to get to, but thank you all from all over, from Europe, from the United States, from Canada, and if I'm missing any other country, please forgive me. Huge thanks again to Paul and to all of you, and the creativity. This is how we make the world a wholeness. To make, what's that lovely line that you quoted of Robin, how to hold to wholeness, and how to hold the wholeness in this crazy breaking apart kind of time. And so thank you for that. So Rich, could you take us home, please?
Okay, can everybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Got a brand new retro microphone here, so.
All right.
Okay, as you are, Lawrence, I'm very visual, and I still struggle with the words here. So, and also with the prose, the free prose, as everybody has, just so beautiful. I just can't get there. You're gonna tell that I read a lot of Dr. Seuss when I was young. I still read Dr. Seuss. So let's see if we can share a screen here, and I will give you a little slideshow that I prepared. And we'll all collect names afterwards so I can send it to HR so we know we've gotten our training. I'm usually inspired by addresses, names, just something silly that comes to mind. So this was sent this to a fortunate young lady named Karen Spiker, who lives on Log Mill Road. Dear Karen, buying all those pre-cut trunks is something we can't afford. Residing here on Log Mill Court, not ever will we be bored. As you can tell, I'm never one to get away from a cheap pun. And the stamp even has some aspens in there, so that was a nice addition. Next. Now these are all my model dinosaurs. And this stamp was especially appropriate. Dear Rhonda, sand on the beach and kites in the air are things we just seem to lack. So we build our own castles with buckets of sand on an ankylosaurus's back. And that, everyone, is my contribution to this event.
Wonderful. Paul, I'm going to hand this over to you again. Thanks to you all. God bless.
All right, Richard. Nicely done, man. Beautiful
Thanks,
MC
Paul.
work.
Thank
That's
you, Richard.
fantastic. Ina, thanks for helping us with the list and with the timing and for all you do for postcards. everybody. It's just a beautiful community, and I don't know how to express myself about how important this thing is for me, how it gets better, it gets sweeter every year, how I love getting all your stuff so I can steal little ideas from each of you. I mean, you can either look at it as stealing or seeing something so good that you say, holy shit, I have to up my game. You know, when Tim Mateer starts sending out these astronauts, I go to the sticker store and I see these space stickers and there's astronauts, and I start thinking, I'm going to stick astronauts on my cards, except I like to think of them as cosmonauts, because not because of a preference for Russian things, but because they are like poets. They are exploring the cosmos. There you go. Oh, you got the one. Yeah, Tim. Yeah, you got that. That's great. I had to type that one up because I couldn't write because the card was very dark. So I typed it and glued it on. You know, I never know if these cards get out there until I see them in a situation like this. So it's nice to get confirmation. And you all can unmute now and welcome. The event is over. We're grateful for it. Please support the Cascadia Poetics Lab. Please consider taking the next step in spontaneous composition by considering our workshops, and sign up for next year if you haven't done it. We're trying to make sign up easier each year. By the way, next year, no corrected lists. You'll be getting an email saying, make sure you got the right address. And once you say yes, that's where we're gonna have people send postcards. So we're done sending list number 5, 6, 7, whatever it is. And I guess we could have done that a long time ago, but we're sometimes slow to figure things out. But we're grateful for the kindness of this community to gently give us nudges. Any last words? Robin, nice poem. Yes, Lawrence, pipe in.
I only got 2/3 of the names on my list so far. And are other people still getting cards?
I had the same thing here. I got about 2/3 so far. Yeah, I think I'm probably around this.
Yeah, Ina says she's still sending them, and Gabriel has sent 1 of 30, so he's running behind. I think we got a little sense of what was going on in his life today. If you could read that, very artfully done, how he related his personal situation. So really touching. You know, it's really touching to get a little bit of someone's life, and for them to take time to write and share a little bit of their life for you. And this Postcard Fest allows them to do that, allows them to maybe unburden a little bit, but in an artful way, not in a way that brings attention to oneself, but one like Gabriel did that brings attention to his love of language and how beautifully it was stated in that poem. And the Dorito poem, I mean, it's the best Dorito poem ever. I was crying when I was listening to that. I have an American sentence that goes something like, does it help the shabby panhandler when he's there eating Doritos? Something like that, you know? And it's like, you have to think twice about giving them a buck or two. But this community grows every year in its beauty, and thank you all for being such excellent ambassadors of this.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. Great.
Thanks,
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all. Love you.
See you on Facebook.
Take care.
Yes.